Okay, we got a big game this week, playing a top 20 team. Offensively, a very talented group, specifically at the wide receiver position. Their quarterback is a veteran guy, has played in some big games, played well in some big games, very good with his own read and throws it well too. The running game is very sufficient also. Defensively, we've been going up against Chief or defense coordinator quite a bit in the past. We're very familiar with each other. He's one of the best in the country. You can really tell a difference this year from last year. It was his first year with them. You can tell they're starting to click. They're very aggressive. They can really run, and they can be very disruptive up front. Their defensive ends as a group has got to be one of the best in the country. And number 15, the Garrett kid, he's a special player. I hadn't seen very many players like him with his skill set, in our league since I've been in this league. So he's definitely an impact player that we're going to have to be ready for. As far as our team, we were very happy to have a victory, and I was very happy with the way we played as a team last Saturday. I think we have some things we can build upon. We got to continue to improve, and we got to play better than we played last Saturday to win this game. And like I said, it's a big game. Playing at home, I'm very excited about that, and looking forward to watching our guys play. Questions?
You mentioned the defensive ends and the pass rush from A&M. Considering your two tackles and only really having two starts under their belt, how confident are you in them and being able to handle that load?
Well, I think that's going to be a big factor in the game, being able to, protect our quarterback, and, those defensive ends are factors. So, we're going to have to do some things to help, and we'll see how the game goes.
How did they progress from week 1 to week 2, those two tackles?
Yeah, I thought they progressed very well. And the offensive line as a whole, kind of like I talked about last week, the improvement from game 1 to game 2 with an inexperienced group is usually your biggest improvement. And I really felt like they did. Our communication was better. They worked good together, or worked better together. And that group will have a chance to continue. We got to continue to improve and continue each week to kind of gel.
How was Darius James performed in that sixth tackle, blocking tight end kind of role?
I thought he's done a solid job. We did something similar with Robert Left, last year, and I thought he's done a solid job. And then when the number 2 offensive line got in there last week, I thought they executed at a very high level. And sometimes when you go with the 2 offensive line, when they're getting their first work, sometimes it gets a little sloppy. But that's one of the things that really stood out to me last Saturday, with all the guys that got a chance to play, is the execution level of our number 2 line.
What about Prince Tega, considering he's only been playing football for so long, and he just moved over to that tackle spot?
Yeah, he's got a chance to be a really good player, and it was good for him to get out there and get some work, and he did some very good things, and he just needs experience.
Gus, Ryan Davis leads your entire offense in terms of snaps played so far this season. Tell me what you like about him.
Well, Ryan is one of our better practice players. I said that about Darius Slayton, but Ryan has really earned everything he's gotten. He's a dirty work guy. He goes full speed in everything he does. And, it's just one of those things. He's going to get more and more comfortable playing in the wide receiver position. He played quarterback in high school. He's a guy that we feel like will have a chance to be a really good receiver after everything's all said and done.
On the other end of that, I think Jason's played 7 snaps total. What's kind of going on with him?
Yeah, Cody's got the standpoint, you earn what you get, and Jason's continuing to work hard. And I think you could see Jason grow more and more, as the season goes on.
You obviously had a lot of success running the ball last week, but how important was it for guys like Malik Miller and Cam Martin to get there in the game and kind of get the feet wet?
I think it's very important. Those are 2 guys that we'll need to count on later in the season. And not only did they get in there with the 2 offensive line, but I think both of them got reps with the 1 offensive line, which is kind of rare with the way we've done things in the past. But to give those guys some confidence and experience, that'll do nothing but help us later on, because we'll need both those guys, before the season's out.
Guys, it seems like not just here, but redshirted guys, with the exception maybe of like an offensive lineman, just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Very much anymore. Could you just why that is?
I think it's the way that you recruit. Guys want to play earlier. A lot of guys, especially if you have a good recruiting class, there's a chance they could come out in 3 years. And so I think that that's really been what's happened with us. I'm not sure about everybody else around the country. We played 10 true freshmen the other night and 18 freshmen altogether. So, you know, we're still relatively young in some areas, and that's encouraging as far as moving forward.
Coach, from a momentum standpoint, how significant is this weekend's game?
You know, I think it's a big game. It's our first SEC game, and then anytime you get in the league, you know, I mean, that's a huge game, and the fact it's our next game, and that's been our focus. We're going to take it one game at a time. Last week it was Arkansas State. We didn't think about A&M. We didn't talk about A&M. And this week's the same deal. Just the difference is we're going to the SEC. It's SEC play. We need to raise our level. You know, our coaches and our players understand that.
Obviously, it's a little bit different earlier on the schedule, but this game seems to always be very important for both schools' seasons and which way they go. Obviously, 13 really launched you guys. 14 ended that streak you guys had, and maybe possibly going to the college football playoff. Do you sense that kind of urgency this week with the game like this?
Well, you know, we've played some extremely close games, you know, with them before. We've had some very good games, and I really think that's the first SEC game for us, the opener. I just think that's big enough within itself, and you know, that's our mindset right now.
How has Chief maybe changed over the last 2 years at A&M, or is he pretty much just done what he's done?
I mean, you know, he's one of the best in our league, and probably one of the best defensive guys to come through the league. I mean, he's one of the best. And so, you know, last year was his first year there, and you could see that, you know, he was trying to get it like he wanted it. And now this year you can tell the difference. I mean, they're improved, and they'll continue to improve.
Because what's challenges is Trevor Knight, you know, presenting a guy that can run, athletic, and get out of the pocket and throw the ball.
Well, I think just like what you said, he can run. Anytime a quarterback can run, that definitely changes things. And like I said earlier, he's a veteran guy. I mean, he's a veteran guy. He's played in some big games, you know, and he's done a good job running so far. You know, he's done a good job throwing to the receivers, which are extremely talented. But he's also carried the football specifically off the zone read. He's made some plays with his feet in straight drop back passing when it's not open, and he's been very good at that. So, you know, he's a very good runner, and that's one thing that definitely concerns you.
How much is their rush defense, Gus? Because in the past they've been pretty poor there, but this year they've gotten off to a great start. They held UCLA and Shaq in particular. Just what makes them different this year?
Well, I think, like I said, you know, it's his second year, and the defense coordinator's, you know, his second year, and I just think you can tell the difference that he's been there 2 years, and his guys understand what he's wanting, and you know, they got a lot of guys back too. That helps.
How much does it do for Sean, maybe confidence-wise, and for the offense when he runs the ball successfully like he did?
You know, I thought that was a big factor that, you know, we had some rushing yards, and, you know, we talked about that in the offseason that, you know, we're at our best when our quarterback is a running threat, and the fact that he had 60 yards rushing, I thought that was very good, and that'll help us moving forward, and that's kind of got to be the mindset. I'm not saying he's going to rush for 60-plus yards every game, but, you know, that's what's got to happen, and he is confident. You know, that definitely was good the other night, and, you know, moving forward, I know his teammates are confident in him too.
And do you regret maybe not running that way some first game? Because obviously once he got out there, he did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's a few things, you know, that we wish we'd have done a little different the first game, but, you know, it is what it is now, and the fact that we got two guys moving forward that we feel good about, and they're a little bit different, which I think is always good, you know, as from a defensive standpoint when they're preparing. So feel good about what we've got moving forward.
Because you had a few specific kinds of plays that really hurt A&M in the game last year. How much of that really plays into what you game plan for this year? I mean, you look back on last year.
You know, I think that there's something to be said for that, but every year is different, and, you know, either new players or, you know, they're improved in this spot or that spot. I mean, from a coach's standpoint, you just come up with a plan that you feel like is best for that year and that group, and that's probably more important than anything.
Do you lean on any kind of scouting reports you have from the old days with Chavis?
You know, I think you lean on everything, you know, with the history, if you got history with people, and but each team's different, you know, I mean, a lot of times the same plays don't work as good either because of their personnel or your personnel. So everything's different, but you do lean on all the information you can gather to give your team the best chance of putting a plan together for them to be successful.
How much was Sean able to prepare for last year's game? That was the first game that Jeremy came back. Just how much was Sean actually able to prepare and be ready for that opponent?
Boy, I tell you, I think he was pretty banged up that week. If I remember right, I don't think he was able to even practice, but he was in the meetings and everything that went with the preparation. But I think if I remember right, we were hoping that he would be available late in the week, and I think we warmed him up in warm-ups, and I just don't think he could move. But he was part of the game plan and knew, what we were doing.
Gus, going forward, when Sean kind of takes off on those scrambles, do you kind of have to have a conversation, because it seems like that dive and roll that he does is possibly going to get him hurt, but I know his teammates kind of like seeing that.
Yeah, and there's a fine line. I mean, he's a tough guy, and you got to know when to get down and when to try to get the extra yards, and that comes with experience. But definitely we talk about the different things and the different plays and what we expect moving forward. He went out there and was trying to block one time, was flying around. I mean, there's a time to do that, and there's a time to use better judgment. That was probably the one that stood out to me.
The home team has never won in this battle. You guys have traded back and forth. Is that a fluke that that happened, and has that been a point of emphasis this week, along with it being the opener?
I just think that's the way it happened, is what I think. I mean, I wouldn't put too much stock in that, with that.
What's kind of the plan or what are you expecting out of Jalen Harris now that Landon Rice is left?
Well, Jalen's a guy that's really come on and improved, had a good spring, and he's got off to a good start, when he's played. And we have a lot of confidence in him, and we recruited him specifically for this position, this role, and, we feel good about him.
Do you expect to kind of throw the ball at him a little more as the season goes along, or?
It's possible. I'm not going to just say that. I mean, yeah, we're going to throw him the ball a lot this week, and no, maybe.
Kevin and James are particularly close friends. I think Kevin said that he might be his closest friend in the coaching business. You've had experience, obviously, coaching against Coach Free. So what is that like in a week like this when you're about to go kind of game plan?
Yeah, I mean, you separate it. You got a job to do, and you separate that. And the professional side is after the week, you get back to, being friends or buddies or whatever, but that's part of it, and that happens at all levels, and you got a job to do, and they got a job to do, and you see who wins.
Does it make it a bit tougher, though, just because, someone you actually have a relationship with versus a coach you just don't really know?
If you got to separate it. That's the best way to put it. You got to separate it. You got to be professional and put the personal feelings aside, and then after the game you shake hands and that's over. But you got a job to do.
With the way Hall and Garrett get up the field on the edges, in the past, how have you countered that and been able to use their aggressiveness?
That's part of it. You got to keep them off balance. I mean, when they know it's pass, they're especially 15, and 10's very, very good within his own right too. But 15's, if he knows it's pass, it's extreme challenge.
How much do you look at and cite the film from last year? Because what Sean was able to do against him was really kind of remarkable.
Against who?
Against Garrett. How much Sean did against Garrett?
Sean Coleman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Sean White.
No, I'm saying, how much do you show either Austin or Robert that tape of exactly what Sean did against him from last year's game and just how effective that was?
Yeah, you try to use, things in the past and look, but every year's different. And, like I said, Sean's in the NFL right now.
Take a few more.
You got a little tricky again. We saw the Batman formation. You say you don't know about it.
Yeah, who asked me that? Yeah, thanks for blowing it.
So what into to that, to tap into the old Gus Malzahn?
No, it's just, you do your homework all week, and you're trying to score points, and that's really, really all that really went into it.
And give A&M something else to think about?
Well, not just them. I mean, if you do stuff like that, you give the rest of the year something they got to work on And we got a few more. We'll just strategically use things when they're available.
Gus, as a play caller, a game like Saturday, when you see guys executing certain things, how much does that help you in terms of moving forward, knowing they can do these things?
I think it helps a lot. And I think I said this last week. We're still learning about a lot of our guys. And if you look out there, we put some true freshmen out there at skill positions at times and just let them play. In the past, we may have just put them in for a play or two, but we let them play. And so just learning about them, giving them the experience that they need to improve. And so that was kind of our mindset last week, that we're going to play these young guys and let them play. And, hopefully the comfort level for them to play in and out and be able to execute at a high level. But as far as execution standpoint, that's kind of what we talked about in the offseason. We've always prided ourselves in executing at a high level, and the frustrating thing, last year and really the first game, we didn't execute at a high level, but that's our goal. And like I said, offensively, we're still work in progress. We got to keep improving. We're starting to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle, but we're still learning about our guys. And, hopefully, in a short period of time, we'll have everything that, what we're going to do moving forward.
Gus, how close is Jeremiah Denson from coming back and being able to play?
I'm hoping we get him back before the end of the year. That's my hope. He's working extremely hard. He's a great kid, and he's a very talented young man, so hopefully we'll get him back. But status right now is uncertain.
Gus, when you look at your defensive line, you've got guys like Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown contributing a lot of snaps and a lot of productive plays. Is that something that's changed since you joined the league, even as a coordinator, that the true freshmen on the defensive line can do that and have that kind of impact?
Well, I think the special ones have a chance to, and even if you look in the past, there's been some true freshman defensive linemen in our league, and they earned it and they were ready. And I think the same thing can be said for those two that you just said. Those guys are ready to play, and they need to keep improving, but I think they will. And Carl and Montravius both played as true freshmen, and then by the middle of the year, they started feeling comfortable.
More of a defensive question, Gus, but there's a lot of folks who projected their wide receivers as the best wide receiver core in the country. Do you feel they're at that level? Do you think that they're 4 or 5 players deep at that point?
I think they're in the conversation. It looks to me like they got a lot of guys going to play at the next level.
You said that Jeremy is going to be behind, obviously, Sean and John. Is there any talk of possibly changing positions for Jeremy at receiver?
No, not at this point. He's going to keep practicing and keep trying to improve and do what he can to help our team.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Still
We've got Alex Kozan joining us here momentarily. Then we've got some coach out here.